I'm Mike.
Welcome to True Crime Thursday on the
Our,
A&M
our
podcast,
our inaugural episode of True Crime Thursday.
the inaugural episode. Um, so today, to kick off True Crime Thursday, we will be talking about the Jennifer Kesse case. For those of you that know, that don't know, whatever, we're both in Orlando area, Florida, pretty close to actually where she used to live. We frequent the area that her apartment was in,
Yep.
I would say pretty often. Um, and as of 2025, there have been a few updates. So why not go back into it since it's no longer really considered a cold case anymore since they opened it back up and use this as our first True Crime Thursday episode
Discussion. Yeah.
discussion.
And I think for that's a reason that this is a good one for us to start off with because it's local to us, even though it's kind of a national story. I think at the time it became more of a national story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's something that we both remember hearing about initially because it actually happened back in 2006, so almost
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago.
Yeah,
20 years ago this year, which is just crazy to think of it in those terms.
for
But
sure.
yeah, it definitely makes it, I think, a good one for the inaugural episode for us to talk about and give our thoughts on.
Yeah. You know what I also found out during this episode? I don't know why, but back when it happened, 2006, so I had just started high school, I guess.
Right.
And I found out she was only 24 years old, which is crazy how
Yeah.
young she was. It also said that she was a finance manager in Orlando, which go her because a finance manager that young. I mean, I think when I was 24 years old, I was not,
Oh, yeah,
working a
not
career jobs like that.
right. Sure.
She also graduated at from UCF. She was
Oh,
in
I
a
did not know
sorority.
that. I did not
Yeah,
know
she
that.
graduated from UCF. Go Knights.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
oh, yeah, okay.
mhm. So, okay, so do you want me to start off or do you want to start off?
You can start off. I'm reading my notes, but I'll chime in as I
Okay,
have information you don't. How's that?
sounds good. So, she vanished on January 24th, 2006. She left her condo in the morning to go to work and never arrived, which is, in most true crime episodes that at least I listen to, that's always the true teller is a responsible person that shows up to work.
Right.
Um, so I guess she was supposed to go to work. She never showed up. She was supposed to really she I believe she had an important meeting from something I was listening to about it. She had an important meeting that day, so that was also the true teller and someone ended up getting in contact with her dad actually and her dad was like, "Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll give her a call." Called her and he said it went right to voicemail and apparently she was somebody who her phone didn't go to voicemail. Her phone always rang and he even said like from the minute that her and her brother got their phones in their cars, the rule was you need to always answer your phone when I'm calling you or your mom's calling you or your phone and car gets taken away. So
Good
her
rule.
not yeah. So her not answering his phone call, and I believe he called her multiple times, and all
Yeah.
calls went right to voicemail.
Yeah, and the timeline I saw said that too, that like so the night before, I guess the day before, she had just gotten
Oh,
back
right.
from a trip with her boyfriend
Yeah.
and she went right to work from getting off the trip and
Yeah.
then left work at 6 p.m., went home, had talked to her dad that night, had talked to her boyfriend before going to bed. Um, and then basically, what you had already said, she left for work and was basically never seen again.
Yeah, and they believe because there were some people who were speculating that she might have, I don't know, something could have happened the night before. How are you sure that something happened the morning of? But so her brother was actually one of the first people who ended up going to the apartment or her condo that next day. And he had said that you could just tell that she had gotten ready for work that morning. Like you could
Hmm.
tell her she had like a towel out from taking a shower. She had she had clothes laid out, not for work, but I don't know. I guess you could just tell that she got ready for work there that morning.
Right.
Um I believe what the brother believes is that that morning, pretty much right after she walked out of the apartment door, she got snatched because the crazy thing, and I mean, we'll get down to it on the timeline, but there, when they went to the apartment, like, no sign of blood anywhere.
Hmm.
No sign of, like, no sign of anything. Like, you would not, but there was no weirdness in her apartment. It didn't look like somebody was up in her apartment. It didn't look like somebody, I don't know, knocked her out. And, Jennifer was 5'8". I think it said she was 5'8", 135 pounds. So she wasn't exactly, a short person. And her brother had said that she would have fought back anyways.
Right.
So yeah, that part of it is kind of interesting to me because to just snatch someone, I also don't believe it's a one man job either. I don't think one person could. I mean, I'm shorter than that, and I don't think one person could just like snatch
Yeah.
me outside
I
my
mean,
apartment unless they were like, Adrian's size or something.
right. It
Which the
depends
person,
on. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that, which that's not what the suspect was, but
yeah.
but it depends on the circumstance too, because if somebody's got a weapon, it's a different. You don't
Hmm.
know. You don't know what
But
the
clear, yeah,
circumstance might be.
yeah, exactly. So that part of it is interesting. But yeah, they did say that she had a normal day the day before.
Hmm.
So when they got to her condo, her car, her keys, her cell phone, purse, and iPad were all gone. And yeah, as I said, it looked like she just left her apartment as a normal day. Her car was found 2 days later, her black Chevy Malibu, and it was found about a mile from her condo in another apartment complex, which apparently the area that this apartment that they found it in, it's not a nice area.
Right.
The apartment that it was left at wasn't a nice area either. Um, and what was weird when they initially found her car is again there was no sign of a struggle. They didn't find any fingerprints except Jennifer's in the car, which is even weird. I mean, people wear gloves
Yeah.
and stuff, but even
Sure.
assuming
Yeah.
somebody ditched it for her, they only found her fingerprints on the car, and her car looked essentially untouched. There was no, you know, claw marks anywhere from her
Right.
nails. There was nothing.
Right.
There was no other DNA anywhere in the car. It was very, very strange. So they did find video footage from
Uh,
a security cameras. Well,
No, I
go
was
ahead.
I was just gonna say, was it video or was it still image?
Oh yeah, yeah. So it was a still image that they said took photos every 3 seconds. Super grainy, super poor quality,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
um
have a copy of it, and I can drop it down here somewhere so people can see.
yeah, it's a camera that basically takes photos every 3 seconds. Terrible quality
Yeah. Yeah,
photos.
those
You
some of
can't.
those security cameras too, I don't even know why they have them because honestly the
What's it
video
gonna do?
quality, and I mean this is 20 years ago, but even the ones today, like what they capture is not helpful. Although
Yeah.
What was the recent case where the first images that came out of the guy, it was like, oh, they're never going to find him, and then they found him. So
Well, unfortunately back then they didn't have access to as many things as they do now, even in
right.
terms of I mean, there's a lot more cameras everywhere now. It kind of blew my mind that even around the area that she's in, because the area she's in is a pretty heavy tourist area. There's a lot of shopping around there. I'm surprised that there weren't more cameras that could have caught something.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess even if her car got ditched only a mile up the road, no camera except this grainy one. So the images that she caught, the guy in it, I don't know, luckiest guy ever in his own way, because every photo they captured of him, conveniently a bar from the fence is blocking his face in every shot.
Right.
You can't so I think it's the brother, well, her family, they believe that the man has a ponytail. Some people think he's wearing a hat. Some people thought it was a woman. He looks
Yeah.
really skinny in it. They thought that he was wearing, I believe it was one of the investigators or the detectives with it. Um, she said that she thought he was wearing it looked like he was wearing khaki pants, black
But
work boot type
you can't tell
shoes,
too much too because it's black and
black and
white
white,
photos, so
yeah.
you're guessing. Yeah.
Um, and a white shirt. They asked her brother, because her brother had seen the workers that were working on at her condo, and they asked him, "Does this look like anything that the workers are wearing?" Because it kind of looks like he's in like work
Right.
clothes.
Right.
Her brother said, "No, that doesn't look like what they wear." Not to
Wow.
say that if even if it was a worker at the condo, he would have to always be in uniform.
It's true.
Um,
If he had done something, he could have like, changed his clothes too. I don't know.
There's also speculation that like that's not even the person that necessarily snatched her. That's just somebody that knows something. It
Right.
could also be somebody that ditched the car just for him, whoever took her.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the brother does believe it was one of the workers. When they ended up interviewing some of the workers that were working on at the condo, not only hindsight looking back, does the family believe they were talking to somebody who knew something, but the workers, I guess, were never even interviewed. The condo had no idea who the workers were. They didn't really know anything about the workers, which is
How is
also
that even possible? That's odd.
2006
That's really
vibes.
odd. See, the thing that I read too though said uh it said that they found the car. Okay, but actually, this says it was surveyed by several, not seven, several hidden cameras, which showed an unidentified person of interest dropping Kesse's vehicle off. So they do know that this was that person that we've seen in the images. Um,
Hmm.
was the one who actually dropped the vehicle off there. So that's a pretty good sign that they were at very least involved.
Yeah.
And uh, it also says that the FBI estimated the person's size was somewhere between 5'3" and 5'5", which is, especially for a guy, that's very short.
Yeah.
Um, and they say NASA also, I guess, had some enhanced video which is wild that they would be able to do anything, um, that they also offered to help, find the person, and you know, here we are 20 years later.
Yeah.
And
Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. Nope. Go ahead.
Well, so they also, at least I was listening to the brothers interview, and he was even saying, in terms of them saying, though, the guy's height being 5'3" to 5'5", that makes it even less likely. He was saying that he's like, somebody that size didn't take my sister. That boy in the pictures, he also again looked super skinny. Like
Uh,
he's the
but
size of a
again,
12-year-old. Um,
I mean, again, though,
weapons
I don't
and
think it's safe to assume that somebody didn't do it because of the size. Because again, if you've got somebody, has a gun or heck, he could have surprised her and used like chloroform to knock her out. I mean,
yeah,
you
that's
just
true.
don't know. You
Yeah,
just don't
true.
know.
But I guess like the angle that the video is into, they were saying, they kind of take the 5'3" to 5'5" with a grain of salt. They're not really like dead set on that being an accurate height just because I don't know. I guess the angle that the video's in, it makes it look weird. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, interestingly, I gave the picture to ChatGPT and asked it to do a similar estimate. It said 5'7" to 5'9", it thought, which would, but they're all
it's more
estimates,
average. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now,
exactly.
I would tend to think that the FBI's estimate would be based on, probably standard definitions that they use. They're out there probably measuring the height of the fence and the angle of the
Yeah,
camera and all of that. So theirs is probably more
true.
accurate than ChatGPT, who is doing an estimate based on a picture, completely just a picture.
Yeah,
Um, the interesting thing to me about it, though, is the time frame that went by between
yeah.
the estimate of when she would have been leaving the apartment and when that car was being dropped off. Because according to the security camera video, the image of the person walking past that fence was captured. Well, this actually says 1300, which would be 1 o'clock. I had read 12 o'clock. Actually, the page that I had read, the kind of the um, details of the case, it said 12 o'clock. It captured. So maybe that clock on that was incorrect. It might have been one of those
Oh,
things where
right.
they didn't reset it for daylight savings. Um, but it said 12 o'clock was when the vehicle was dropped off. So that's like a 4 hour span for whatever happened to her
Oh,
to have happened and the person to have gone and dropped the car off. It seems like such a short time frame.
yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, that's crazy. So it says this is interesting. Between 2006 and 2010, that was when the initial police investigation took place. They investigated in 2006, but found no solid leads. The trail went particularly cold as few physical clues ever panned out because again, like they didn't find anything. They didn't find any DNA that wasn't Jennifer's. Like all the DNA that they tested pretty much from what I read in her car near her apartment, it all led back to Jennifer. There was no blood. There was no like sign of struggle anywhere.
Right.
It's not like they didn't find a broken nail anywhere, an earring, like no sign of any kind of fight anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is, crazy that somebody can even get away with taking somebody like that. It's
Yeah,
just
so
wild to me.
seamlessly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like, as you mentioned, that area is a fairly busy area. It's not,
Pretty
it's
much
not a
at all
remote.
times of the day.
Yeah, yeah. And so the idea that like somebody, and this is at 7 or 8 in the morning where you would think there'd be a lot of people out, at the time of year that it was, you would think there would have been people out going to school and taking kids to school and all that kind of stuff.
Even in
That,
her parking lot of her condo. I mean, I know me, like just here when I'm out at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm bound to see at least somebody in the parking
yeah,
lot, even if it's way down in the parking lot. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's
yeah,
not super early in the morning.
yeah.
Um, so, oh yeah, so it says NASA was even asked to help enhance surveillance footage, but it didn't find any identifiable suspect. In 2016, Jennifer was declared legally dead by the state of Florida after years without contact, which is so sad.
Yeah. Especially since at the time I remember this, but also some of the things I've read have suggested that they thought it was possible anyway that she was, it was a human trafficking thing where she was abducted and sold to human traffickers, which, then you start to think, well, she had just gotten back from vacation, and where was she on vacation? Looking through my notes, sorry, it's terrible. I should just remember that, but oh, the
It was
Virgin
some
Islands.
I
She was just in the
yeah.
Virgin Islands. Oh, did somebody, spire in the Virgin Islands? And I guess if you've ever watched the movie Taken, your mind starts thinking that way. Did somebody spire there and go, oh man, she'd be good because she was a very attractive young woman. She'd be a great one to sell to the, like if you go by that movie, the Saudis or whoever, so
Yeah, and I'm
followed her
pretty
back
sure
here from there.
I think they spent like about a week out there, but even then that doesn't I don't know, that doesn't really make sense to me because the day before, so when she got back from the trip, she actually stayed at her boyfriend's house for like a
Hmm.
day or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and then she left from his house, which was quite a pretty far drive away, I believe. They had a
Okay.
like long distance relationship. It was a
Uh,
pretty far drive. It's not like he lived down the street.
was he, because she was from Tampa, was he maybe from over that way?
He might have been. I don't remember. He might have been. But yeah, it was quite a drive.
Yeah.
And that's why she left his house, she went right to work. And like even before, I guess before her boyfriend was saying how the type of person that Jennifer was, she was very very cautious. She was the type of person that even when she would get gas, he said, she always filled her tank up on Sunday when she would be with him, and she would make him go with her to fill up her gas tank because when she left his house at 5 a.m. in the morning, she didn't want to get gas by herself.
Hmm.
So she stayed at his house for the night, had him go with her the night before to fill up her tank. So when she left at 5 a.m., she didn't have to worry about staying, like doing that. So
Right.
super cautious person, apparently always carried pepper spray with her. Um, Always would check in with her family. I guess even if there was like a maintenance worker in her apartment working, she always would call her dad or her boyfriend or her brother and
Smart.
be on the phone with them the entire time that the maintenance worker was in her apartment. Like a very cautious person. So that's honestly what's even sadder about it. I guess she also liked to watch a bunch of law and order type true crime stuff, shows, all that stuff. And she would always talk about what she would do if she was in those situations, which is also so sad that even something like
Yeah.
this would happen to her. So, yeah, that's also what's kind of heartbreaking about it is somebody who was so cautious and on it for this to still happen to that type of person is just like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And so the interesting development that recently happened that you mentioned is, I guess, in October, I guess it was, they announced that the case was no longer because it was turned over to the FBI in 2010. So like 4 years later, the case got turned over to the FBI, and and at that point, I guess they were investigating it for a while as a cold case, right?
Well, so in 2018, her parents actually sued the Orlando Police Department because they wanted full access to all the case files. They
Okay.
they believed investigative efforts were incomplete, especially kind of after they just let it go cold and then just pronounced her dead and kind of
Right.
moved on.
Right.
I kind of I think it's great that her family never gave up hope. I mean, they still haven't.
Right.
So, yeah, they sued the police department only because they wanted to get full access to all her case files. And then in late 2019, after the lawsuit, they got thousands of pages of reports and interviews and found large gaps, or they found that large gaps in documentation existed. So then in November 2022, FDLE took the lead, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They assumed responsibility for the case, reassessing evidence, re interviewing witnesses, and applying modern forensics. That was November 2022. Thank goodness that her parents even got all those reports because that's kind of, in my opinion, what kickstarted everything
Right.
and kind of reopening it. Then in 2025, her family announced that FDLE now says the case is no longer considered cold and signaling more active process after years of it being stagnant.
Yeah, and one of the things that I read too was they said that they actually did find a small amount of someone else's DNA on the steering wheel at the time of her disappearance. So, and this says also that they said the person of interest list was greatly reduced, so they're thinking they have a better chance of finding her than they did before, or finding out what happened to her. Which, you know, I mean, I think if you're her parents, like your best case scenario is that it was a human trafficking situation and she's just being held in some because the sad thing is that stuff goes on so much more than people realize, you know,
Yeah.
and it's scary. It's scary because otherwise, like, you know, the thing is, it's been 20 years and there's been no remains found anywhere. And, your mom and I were talking about this earlier, and she said, well, there's lakes everywhere in Florida. I mean, everywhere in
Yeah.
Florida. And
Yeah.
somebody does that and dumps somebody in a lake, they're probably not going to find them. They're probably not going to find them. But,
Yeah.
it just seems like I mean, that short time frame to me, that's the thing that really gets me that,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
because let's assume that something really horrible happened to her. There was no evidence in the car of anything like that happening to her. Like no blood. Okay, to your point, no
That's
blood,
what they
no
said, no
scratch marks,
blood.
nothing like that, right?
Mhm.
And again, then you come back to the thing of, and also nothing else found in the car. Like, well, if the person took her car and dumped her body in a lake, you'd probably find some kind of weird mud on the tires from being by the
Yeah.
lake, that kind of thing. None of that was found. So that really does put you down that path of human trafficking. So, and if you're her parents, like I said, that's even though that's terrible as well. That might be worse, right? If you having to live through that, especially for 20 years. Um, but in that scenario, she's also still alive, you know.
Yeah. Um. Oh yeah. Okay. I have Oh yeah. Investigators found DNA evidence that had never been tested. Reports say that several pieces of DNA have been retested or newly submitted for testing, and the FDLE is now leveraging advanced forensic technology, including AI tools,
Yeah,
to aid in the investigation. As of mid
yeah, that's really
2025,
amazing.
the FDLE has narrowed down a list of persons of interest to just a few individuals, though no names or arrests have been publicly released.
Yeah, which is also interesting to me, and I can understand why they would do that because they don't want the people to know, maybe. But I feel like in most cases like this, like they'll talk about who the person of interest is, who the people of
Mm-hmm.
interest are, um, because you want the public to know. Because let's assume either scenario. Let's assume that she was attacked and murdered and dumped somewhere, or she was, caught and human trafficked, if that's a word. Um, And the person who did it, person or people who did it, are still walking around, potentially still walking around the Orlando area. Shouldn't people know who these people are?
So the family, especially the brother in his interview, he kept saying like he seemed pretty headstrong that he thinks it was one of the workers that at the condo, which,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be. I know a
Could
lot of
be.
times when there's things going on, like even if somebody's house gets broken into and there's construction going on in the area, or there recently was work done on the house or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, that's usually kind of the
Well,
first
I
person
mean,
that you go to.
the another case that maybe we'll talk about sometime is the Jean Benet Ramsey case, the little girl from, I don't know, the 80s, maybe years ago. But that case too, she just disappeared, and I don't know, we'll have to talk about that, and we'll do some research on it. But there was
Yeah.
speculation at the time with that it had been somebody who had been doing some work in the house.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's always something weird like that.
Yeah,
But I mean, the interesting part to me about it is that that would have had to, I would assume, it would have to be somebody who like knew her routine almost to an
true,
extent,
true.
which is
Or honestly, maybe it was somebody she trusted foolishly. You know,
yeah,
I mean, although you say if she was suspicious person, that's probably not, like maybe it was somebody that she had seen at the complex, who one of the workers or something, a few times, who had talked to her or something.
like just
And,
a friendly
oh, hey,
hello,
hey, hey, you're going to work. Can I get a ride? You know?
which I don't think she would have even like based on the type
Yeah.
of, but cuz there was some speculation before as well, like I guess they had mentioned previously about what if it's do you think it could be like, oh, what was it? Like she left in the middle of the night or something like that.
Right.
Like she went somewhere at night, but her boyfriend was like, "No,
Yeah.
she's not even going and
Too
getting gas by
suspicious.
herself." Yeah,
Yeah. That,
she's not even going and getting gas at 5 a.m. in the morning. She's not
right.
going anywhere by herself at nighttime.
Right. Right. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Like if she was that, safe of a person, that doesn't make any sense. Plus,
Yeah.
I mean, if they said there was evidence that she had been there that morning, I'm thinking
Mhm.
half empty coffee cup or something like that too, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it is interesting now that it's like not considered a cold case anymore. So there's people, I would assume, actively working on it. Um,
yeah,
I hope.
they narrowed it down to a few people of interest. They haven't released any names yet, probably just to save, any kind of integrity of the case that they can.
Right.
Um, Especially if they have names of people that they're looking for, the last thing you want to do is spark anything to make them dip. But I'm happy for her family that they have reopened it, and I love that they have just continued to fight
Yeah.
for, just their daughter. Her dad was saying how um he at this point he cries every morning with when he has his coffee, which is so sad.
Yeah.
And but he was also saying at this point he just wants to know like what happened to her. He's like,
Right.
whether
Right.
she's dead, whether she's still alive, I just want to know what it is.
Right. Right.
Which, is understandable instead of
Yeah,
just going
totally.
through your life like even having to go through the last 20 years
Right.
not knowing anything.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and I can understand because they said that she would call him like basically every morning.
mhm.
So it's probably every time or every day around the time when she would call that he feels that way. I can completely understand that. Um,
Yeah.
but I hope I also read that I guess there's a documentary that's working on a television series related to this. So, like a documentary series
Mm-hmm.
that's supposed to be out sometime in 2026 or sometime this year. So that'll be interesting to check out. And well, who knows? Maybe by then they'll have answers to some of these, some of these questions. Because if they've got that list of people like reduced, I would think, come on, you got to be able to figure something out. You know?
Yeah, especially with all the modern technology and stuff
Right.
out there.
Right. Exactly.
100%. I'm super hopeful that they'll figure out something, even if it's a person to get for the reason that she's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully they, maybe they find good news. Who knows?
Yeah,
So well,
exactly.
I think this was a good one to start with, though, just because it is such to us anyway, it's kind of a local story, and I hope if you got through the whole thing, leave us your thoughts. Leave if you like this type of episode. We're gonna keep doing these um, this year on Thursdays. So let us know your thoughts, and if there's any cases you'd like us to do some research in and talk about, we'd love to do it.
Yep, I agree. Until next time, stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.